So, I know people are going to be waiting for the line and team projections for 2017-18. And rightfully so. They're coming. But first, I was digging through this magazine today. This is the 96-97 Hockey News Yearbook. And interestingly enough, Jocelyn Thibault was on the cover. And I found an interesting article about Thibault, and I thought, man, I could totally go through that. And then I found something bigger. Eyes on the prize. Just, and this isn't directed towards any certain veteran NHLer, but it's worth listening to. It was just a groin pull, the type of injury that a player can usually grit his teeth and endure. But for Steve Yzerman, it was also the latest frustrating chapter in the book of misfortune that has defined his career. The Detroit Red Wings captain leaves Game 1 of the 1996 Western Conference Final against Colorado Avalanche, 13 minutes in the second period, April 17th, misses Game 2 and plays Games 4 through 6, but is not the same effective player many considered the best two-way forward in the NHL last season. Another bolt of lightning struck from the little black cloud that hovers over Yzerman's head. This was supposed to be the year the Red Wings finally lived up to their vast potential. This was supposed to be the year when Yzerman, 31, finally led his team to glory. Obviously, it wasn't to be. A few years ago, we pondered, Stevie, why? W-H-Y. Why don't you get more respect? Now it's more like, Stevie, why? Why are you so unlucky? I don't think I'm unlucky, Yzerman says. Things happen. Not just to me, all players. A lot of good things have happened to me. And a number of not-so-good things. Let's consider. September 1st, 1984. In the opening game of the Canada Cup, 19-year-old Yzerman crashes into the boards at the Old Montreal Forum, suffering a hit corner that knocks him out of the next 4 games. He returns to Canada to help them win, but doesn't register a point in 4 outings. March 1st, 1988. Yzerman tears ligaments in his right knee, the same night he scores the 50th goal of the season, and misses the final 15 games of the regular season as well as 2 rounds of the playoffs. With Detroit down 2-0 to the Edmonton Oilers, Yzerman returns, but plays at about 50%. April 14th, 1994, Yzerman sprains his knee on the final night of the regular season. There's just 2 minutes remaining, and that reduced his effectiveness until he had it surgically removed in 1994. June 21st, 1994. No black cloud, huh? But Yzerman is back in these days. Last season, he answered his critics by leading the Red Wings to an NHL record 62 season wins and played the best two-way hockey of his career. Trade rumors hung around him like a shadow. But now the prospect of the Red Wings trading him seems ludicrous. According to Red Wings owner Mike Ilitch, Yzerman is a Red Wing for life, or as long as he wishes to remain with the team. It was Ilitch who approved the contract extension of $13.8 million for 4 years, Yzerman's reward for years of faithful and productive service. In spite of finishing second in team scoring to Sergei Fedorov last season, Yzerman was arguably the best all-around forward on a team that won more regular season games than any team in NHL history. There are those who insist Yzerman, not Fedorov, deserved to win the Frank J. Selke Trophy as the NHL's best defensive forward. He plays a hard game in and game out, said Bob Erie. He certainly doesn't have the natural talent some of the other players in our team have, but he's definitely the guy who makes the most of his ability. Think about that for a second. He's developed into one of the classiest and most complete players in the leagues, adds Bruins center Adam Oates. He listened to Adam Oates. Oates is a smart man. Playing on a checking line with Erie and Darren McCarty, Yzerman still finished 19th in NHL scoring with 36 goals and 95 points. He was his team's best player in the playoffs after being left off Team Canada in 87 and 91 for the Canada Cup. He was left off back-to-back Canada Cups. Not good enough for the team. Teams that were selected mainly by Mike Keenan will play in the World Cup. This year's pulled groin was the least serious of his numerous injuries, but it might have had the most damaging effect on the Red Wings' potential to win their first Stanley Cup since 1955. The Wings remain the team with the longest gap between championships. With 13 years of service, Yzerman is coming dangerously close to joining a club that includes elite NHLers who played 15 or more seasons and didn't win a Stanley Cup. Dean Prentice is, forgive us, the dean of the club, having played 22 big league seasons without sipping from the cup. So did Doug Moens, John Rattel, and Harry Howell, who were right behind at 21. Norm Ullman and Bill Gadsby bow out of the race after 20 years. Leo Boyven cashed in his chips after 19. There were other huge impact players who made their mark on the game, Marcel Dion, Brad Park, and Darryl Sittler among them, but never played on a cup winner. It is ridiculous to measure a player's worth on whether he plays on a cup winner, but some people do. Would you rather have on your team Gilbert Dion, who won a Stanley Cup with the Montreal Canadiens in 1993, or older brother Marcel, a Hall of Famer and the third highest scorer in NHL history, but he never won a Stanley Cup? There are guys who play on Stanley Cup winners who are labeled winners, Yzerman says. Teams will say, let's get that guy, he'll lead us to the cup. Then there are a lot of outstanding players who don't get the cup. That's just the way it is. Does that make them losers? I don't think so. One player can only do so much. Boston Bruins defenseman Ray Bourque has been an NHL All-Star in each of his 17 years and hasn't won a cup. This is before he went to Colorado. Yzerman's teammate Dino Ciccarelli joined the 500-goal club 2 years ago, but he hasn't won a cup, and he never did. Yzerman is satisfied with his standing in the game. It wasn't his fault he played in an era dominated by three of the best centers ever to play in the NHL, Wayne Gretzky, Mark Messier, and Mario Lemieux. Yzerman has scrambled for recognition in a second tier of pivots that includes Oates, Doug Gilmour, and Pat LaFontaine. Do you look back now and say he's in a second tier to anybody? I don't. From 1987-88 through 92-93, Yzerman has been one of the most dominating scorers in the league, scoring 331 goals and 732 points. An average of 55 goals and 122 points per season for 6 years. That included single-season highs of 65 goals and 155 points in 88-89. That's insanity. And they lost in the playoffs. And that was the year he was awarded the Lester B. Pearson Award as top performer in the league, as voted by his peers, members of the NHL Players Association. And I go as far as to say I think the Pearson Award is one that players likely hold closer than the Hart Trophy, because it's voted on by other NHL players. That for me, that would have a lot of prestige to it. That'd be pretty awesome. Yzerman was hampered by injuries the 2 years prior to last season, and his play was inconsistent. During the lockout-shortened 94-95 season, he suffered through a 15-game goalless drought. Scored in back-to-back games, and then scored just once in the next 12 games. Remember that. Oh, there was all kinds of, is he done? Or injuries finished? Is he finished? It's done. Detroit should trade him. Look what they'd get back. Through it all, Yzerman's attitude never swayed. If anything, he became more determined. Adding the element of defense to his repertoire has made him a more complete player. And many say he never played better than last season, to which he chuckled and says, let's not get carried away. Not only is he great in terms of how he has played, he's been an inspiration to others because they see him playing in pain, said Red Wings GM Ken Holland. There have been times when it was almost like he grabbed the team and said, I'll find a way to lead you to victory, and then he did it. So now it's down to winning the cup. Will it happen? Don't count him out yet, Airy said. Obviously, he'll be there next season, and we're a good team. Stevie works so hard. He deserves a cup. He's genuine, not a phony, in a game full of them. Imagine saying that now, and everybody'd be like, oh, who's the phony? Who's the phony? Back then, it's just, yeah, there's phonies in the game. My approach is to have fun, Yzerman says. My desire is to win a cup, and it hasn't changed at all. I'm not consumed by it now. I want to experience the celebration of winning the cup, of getting to carry it around the ice. I've dreamt about it since I was a little kid. Now, if only he could shake that little black cloud. The spring after that was written, the Red Wings won the Stanley Cup. All of the talk about, do they have to trade Yzerman? Yzerman's in his 30s. Now might be the best time to get rid of him. It all disappeared. Stevie Yzerman, in my eyes, one of the best two-way forwards I've ever seen. I'd put him ahead of Fedorov. I'd put him up amongst the greats. He could hurt you at both ends of the ice. And he could do it on one leg, with one arm. Bad knees, bad hips. It didn't matter. So, without saying any names, let me know in the comment section below. Which star player who has not won a Stanley Cup will be a Stevie Yzerman? In his 30s, Ray Bourque, in his late 30s, finally, he wins it. Let me know in the comments section below what you think. Hit like and subscribe if you're on your way through. And yeah, this is a Rammstein shirt because it's hot. And I got to wear jerseys for the other videos I'm doing tonight, so I'm giving myself a little bit of a break before I start those. But they're coming. And thank you very much for patiently waiting for them. And I will talk to you again real soon.